What secrets do you know about your workplace that you are not supposed to know? I work in education. My former chairman allowed a female employee to embezzle money from the school. I found out and blew the whistle. I assumed the woman would be fired and the chair would be demoted. Instead, the woman was asked to quit and given a package, and the chair stayed in his position because of his status as a coach. He proceeded to make my job very difficult for the next 5 years until he gave up chairmanship to someone competent. The woman was his work wife and mistress, who also used to be his student at our school. Next story. Not a current job, but a past job. My manager quit and the CEO gave me access to his email so I could find information about how to do projects he only knew about. I started looking for all the salary information from all the coworkers on my team, found out I was being paid significantly less than the person who previously had my position. I went and negotiated about a 40% raise with the CEO based on that information. I mean, typically, I'm not for looking at people's private emails or anything, but the CEO sanctioned it. He did this to himself. 40% OP? Hell yeah. Next story. At a place that I used to work, I was the only person with any IT smarts. I set up the spam filter to forward to my inbox any maybe emails that it caught, which I would then look at and forward on if they weren't spam. On 2 occasions, I was forwarded an email receipt for Viagra, which one of my colleagues had purchased with his work email address. I just deleted them rather than forward on because, well, it's just easier that way. Next story. There's a removable panel in the restroom that allows access to various pipes in the wall. It also allows you to perfectly hear meetings in the superintendent's office. I've learned lots of juicy things I'm not supposed to know about. Some of the things I've heard were some coworkers were banging on company property on company time they thought management wouldn't find out, and, well, management found out. My top boss has anxiety and would practice his speech to my direct supervisor before giving it to everyone. My boss isn't nice behind closed doors. I heard him talk crap about so many of my coworkers. Next story. My former boss, who is married, banged in his office with multiple employees. Crap leadership skills. He came from a naval background and didn't have a bloody clue what he was talking about unless it was Navy stuff. Office supervisor. Had F-buddies in the office. He would let them get away with murder in exchange for favors. He would always talk about how much he got paid compared to everyone else. Never wanted to help anyone or give a crap. The entire department is a complete crap show. The good bunch of people who made the place decent either left or constantly got screwed over. Hard workers never got a thank you. Next story. At a previous job, we had an HR manager get fired right after returning from maternity leave. She was replaced by the guy that she trained to fill in for her while she was gone. She sent a company-wide email with the pay rate of everyone from the plant manager on down. It was a crap show. A lot of the pay rates were wildly different in management/supervision and maintenance. There were talks of work stop strikes and slowdowns, even threats of unionizing. I believe that this one act led to the eventual closure of the plant. It was a crazy time. Okay, real talk though. I actually think that salaries and stuff should be public. If everyone's on board for it, I guess. But there is very little reason, in my opinion, to not know if you make the same amount as your coworkers. If they're getting paid more, there should be, discernible reasons why. It just doesn't really make sense. Next story. That in March next year, the company I work for will lose the contract to provide catering and all employees will probably lose their jobs. I can't sleep at night. I can't look them in the eyes. The company that contracts us has already started negotiating with another contractor, and I'm friends with someone high up in that company. They've told me to get out ASAP. My boss doesn't even know. I've been dropping hints, but I don't know what to do. If I can, I'll find new jobs for my team. There are 2 separate teams, and I manage one. I'll encourage them to put in an application somewhere, but I can't make them. Edit to add some info and correct. I shouldn't have said all employees. This is technically not correct. I had my team in mind when I said that. My boss has other business interests within the state and local area. He'll be relatively fine, as will the chefs of the business. They cook for multiple venues, though they may find themselves with fewer hours. I'm not withholding this information lightly. If I tell my company what I know, I will most definitely jeopardize my friend's job. It is known that we're friends by some people in his company. Those that are most likely to be losing their jobs are the service staff, mostly school-aged kids and some older adults. I'm looking after the older people first. They have mortgages and bills after all. I can say I know most of the people on a fairly personal level. The kids will be okay. There's a good amount of work around for them. We're in a tourist town. Thanks for the kind words and support, Reddit. Edit 2. Regarding the concern for those who may lose their jobs, we're in a tourism-driven region and March is the beginning of our peak tourism season. I'm concerned for them and their welfare, However, I'm very confident they will find work should they want it. As for the older team members who have mortgages, etc., I've organized an off-site training session and will encourage job seeking to occur. Those calling me a coward and other lovely names, your opinion is ill-informed and unimportant. Blow me. Update. My whole team now knows what is potentially coming. Some have found new work already. Some have said they'll stand and fight with me. Also, I have discreetly had discussions with the contractor regarding what needs to be done for us to keep the contract, and he's given me a deadline to show X and Y improvements. I am busting my butt to try and make this happen, at least from my side of things. This dude gave us a whole saga. That was 2 edits and an update, which is also just another edit. Anyway, OP, keep fighting. I mean, this post is probably old and, it's already happened, but I hope it worked out well then. This sort of mass layoff situation is never fun, so I hope it didn't come to that. Next story. I know everyone on our Wi-Fi and their devices and where they've been coupled with and how they're affiliated to our company. My boss does a report daily for the CIO with my metrics. Part of me wants to know why, part of me doesn't. They have a pathing system that tracks movement for 30 days that I had made for emergency exiting plans. It's not being used for that. Edit. Sorry to cause fear. This can be used for good things. Your crap got stolen? Oh, we can find it. You have an emergency medical issue? We can find you and send someone to you quickly. I just know it isn't being used this way. Next story. By jumping from department to department over the years at my old job, I knew a combination of things that no one person was supposed to know. I knew alarm codes, vault combinations, locations of keys, password schedules, location and functionality of cameras and security systems. Led to a lot of idle daydreaming on bad things I could do. But I would never. Next story. If we have to clock in for work at a time when we're not technically on the schedule, we use what's called a red card. For example, let's say I'm scheduled 2 to 9 on a particular day and I get called in early. If I tried to punch, I would get an error message. The only people with these red cards are managers. Store manager, perishable manager, and non-perishable manager. Well, I know the code for the red card, so theoretically I can punch myself in without needing to get it. Don't do it, OP. It's not worth it. This is only mildly related, but I'll tell you, my school was not happy when I figured out the password to all of the computers in the lab. This seems like a much higher stakes version of that. So, it ain't worth it. Next story. That with a day or 2 of effort, I could draft a full proposal for eliminating my job and the 4 other people who do my job. It's completely unnecessary, and the organization wastes conservatively $200,000 a year on salary and benefits for us to perform a very small number of tasks that could easily be delegated elsewhere or replaced with an outside service. I suspect it's one of those "it's being taken care of" situations. The other 4 employees are all women and have been there for 15 to 20 years. No one wants to pull these old fossils into the office and say, "You're a grown adult who gets paid a grown adult salary to sit around on Facebook and answer the phone 3 times in an 8-hour shift. Get the hell out of here." Private sector, the position would have been eliminated a decade ago. I mean, it's nice that I'm employed, but the job is a complete waste of time and money. You know that book, Bullcrap Jobs? This is it. Next story. Manager fired one of my coworkers, let's call him Billy, because her good friend who works with Billy did not like him. It didn't matter that he was never late, was dedicated, smart, hardworking, and didn't gossip. Manager also promoted her other friend, who was our billing person and previously worked retail, to HR manager. People's insurance through the company started lapsing and vacation days were taken without warning. Said people were not in the office those days when people had a full work day's worth of emails to show for it. Next story. I'm a nanny. Short answer, everything. I hear all of the whispers you think I can't hear from the next room. Your kids know/talk more than you think. Google fills in your search history when I'm ordering more diapers. I pull the receipts out of the dryer that fell out of your pants pockets. The iPad the kids use has the photo account linked across all of your devices. I don't snoop intentionally, but just as a byproduct of being in the home all day and working with a family so intimately, I definitely know most, if not all, of the family secrets. Even the secrets that mom boss and dad boss may be keeping from each other. I just pretend not to know anything at all until I'm directly told. I would never tell these things to anyone, but make sure you really trust your nannies, and or have a non-disclosure clause in their contract. Next story. The factory manager that recently retired in his 50s was actually harassing 2 women engineers in their 20s that opened an HR case together. I've tried to ask why he gets to get off with the reputation intact, and HR says it's company policy to keep investigations private. One of his personal photographs from his travels is still hanging in the cafeteria with his name on it. Next story. At my last command, the legal officer of all people would put his calls on speakerphone and leave his door open. So, of course, Everyone in the vicinity could hear him talking about people's sensitive information as well as his personal opinions about these people. One of the worst I overheard was, "Is there anything we can do to keep so-and-so from advancing?" Another was, "So-and-so's wife called the captain saying he beat the crap out of her, so now I have to deal with that." He was a piece of crap. Probably still is. Next story. All this stuff is so negative. I'm gonna throw a positive one out there. My boss is secretly a competitive ballroom dancer. He's too embarrassed to tell anyone. I found out when my girlfriend and I took a beginner course and he was in the studio working on a routine. I got sworn to secrecy, but I think it's so interesting. Next story. I know how much pretty much everybody in IT is getting paid. From that, I can safely say that new people with no skill or experiences get a lot more money than people who've been working here for years and know our product in and out, and that I'm one of those who gets paid less. Raises are opposed against because everybody gets the same no matter the experience. Complete lie. See above. The result is that I am now actively searching for a higher paying job. Next story. Not my current job, but when I worked in logistics, my boss, head of outbound operations, didn't have a high school diploma, and the job required a college degree. She lied on her resume to get the job. She was an amazing boss, though. She didn't micromanage, she called me on my crap and screw-ups when they occurred, but was never mean or power-trippy about it. She offered suggestions to increase efficiency, but they weren't required. We just had to test them out. We kept what worked and discarded what didn't. Somehow, she was always able to make me feel proud of a job well done, while still making me determined to do better. Probably the best boss I've ever worked for to date. And that includes 6 years of self-employment. She was fired a few months after I left for lying on her resume. I get lying on your resume is not great, but if they've shown they can do the job for an extended period of time and people are happy, you gotta just let it slide, right? Because why take the chance that you're gonna hire someone who's probably going to be worse? Just let the person who's doing the good job have it. These prerequisites are just, I don't know, they're whatever for most things anyway. Unless she was operating some specialty equipment she was not certified for or whatever. But really, if someone's been doing the job for years and has not messed up, everyone's happy working for them, let sleeping dogs lie. That's all I'll say. Next story. They sent out an email saying one of our coworkers is no longer employed with us, which means they got fired. They aren't supposed to tell us why that person got fired, but one day the assistant director came up to me and asked if the fired coworker was still in a relationship with a certain client. Someone had mistakenly told her I might have information about it, but I had no idea. My department didn't even work with that client. So now I know my coworker got fired for dating a client. Next story. I work in a large federal government building. One of the ones you'd see on the news frequently because a lot of stuff happens here and reporters are on location often. There are a series of network closets in the building. They're placed in the same locations on multiple floors so the cabling layout is standardized. They range in size from a decent-sized bathroom to a studio apartment, and you'd never notice them in the hallway because the doors are unassuming. One of these closets is completely unlabeled. The plaque with the room number has been removed and it's just a blank door in the hallway. I noticed it was where one of our closets should be, but it's missing from all the maps and directory. It's the largest closet by far. Someone has furnished it with leather couches and a TV and a fridge. I have no idea who converted it into their own private lounge, but there are 10,000 people in the building, and only 30 or so can open that door. Next story. That the two directors of the nonprofit I work for actually own a couple of other companies that bill the nonprofit for things that do not happen. They also own the company that rents every building to the others. They're basically stealing government money, but it's so common that nobody cares. Next story. At my last job, I was a confidant of my ASM, SM, GM, and most of the crewmen I supervised. I'm not stupid enough to think I knew everything, and I'm well aware that I was brazenly lied to a lot, but I knew many things. I turned it into a game. I'd pretend not to know a thing so that different people at different levels would swear me to secrecy and then tell me the thing from their angle. Invariably, one thing was always completely different from each person. I never broke confidence, which is precisely why people told me stuff. One of the proudest moments of my life, not exaggerating, was when the ASM and I were welcoming a new hire, and the ASM cautioned her to never tell anyone here something you don't want the whole shop to know. Except for OP. You could talk to him. He doesn't talk about other people's stuff. I was the guy people trusted, and that's exactly who I wanted to be. I got to really know and enjoy some of our people, and I also got to see all kinds of things about the company that should never have been revealed to me. The most interesting thing was when a person didn't know that I was in the know about a thing and attempted to confide a lie in me. This happened all the time, and I really got to see people's true colors. You can tell a lot about a person and their motives, and what they think of you, by what they choose to lie about, especially if you never make them aware that you know they're lying. If they think they fooled you or that they own you, they'll keep on showing you everything. Knowing things I'm not supposed to know is what I do. I don't get off on sharing it like others do. Instead, I get off on being the only one that people trust. Next story was a bus driver in the UK for Arriva. Instead of windscreen washer fluid, they use water. Before CCTV was common, was a shelf stacker at a co-op. Come in to find the boss has resigned, with the police getting called in. Turns out he had stolen stock over at least a year in the low 5-figure range. Had a couple people in on it. He basically invented a chronic shoplifting problem by claiming that shoplifters who had been caught in the past and present had stolen a lot more than they had. Wrote it off and took some of the stuff from the back of the shop. Got off scot-free somehow. Next story. At my old company, the owner accidentally sent me the complete company accounting breakdown. I knew what everyone made, how much revenue we took, how much our office cost, how much everything. Of course, I immediately got an email saying, "Don't look at that." I replied, "Oh, I hadn't even noticed the email, no problem." But it was too late. I had seen it all. Next story. I seem to have been designated the work confidant, so I know pretty much everything going on around here. One guy is back sleeping with his ex-girlfriend after he originally left her for chasing him through the house with a screwdriver. Once he left, he went back to his ex before that, who used to beat him with a house brick. Then he lived with both of them, 5 kids among them, but now it seems he's back exclusively with Screwdriver Lady. There's one clerk here sleeping with one of the directors early on when nobody is here. Both married, both very confident in their ability to cover their tracks. As if. Our place is full of functioning alcoholics, and I know exactly when, where, and how much they drink before their shift begins at 6 a.m. Some of the quantities could floor a rhino. Plenty more. My workplace is fun. That first guy, he needs help, man. He's got a type, though. You can definitely say that. Being threatened or hit or chased around with something, and this guy is in, apparently. Seriously, though, should probably get some counseling. Next story. Non-American. Used to hand out methadone to addicts. Each bottle has a date and a designated user. One day, several years ago, someone screwed up. Now they just give out a bottle and take the label off, because nobody wants to take responsibility for screwing up the whole system. However, people working for the government are so stupid they didn't realize there's a different amount prescribed to each patient. So some are getting extra high and some are withdrawing, all without knowing why. Next story. This multi-billion-dollar job is almost entirely billed as time and material. That means they really don't give a crap if you get much done. But if you miss any time, they will rain down hell. They need us there for the billable hours. The job itself is rather unique, so there's no benchmark for cost/time. As long as you aren't visibly drunk, sleeping, or fighting, you can screw off to your heart's content. Next story. My ex-boss has a farm in Kentucky where he keeps a dozen alpacas. He didn't work on Fridays. His excuse was he had to visit the doctor for physical therapy. I discovered the reason for his regular Friday absences was to fly to his farm in Kentucky and spend a weekend with his alpacas, as well as his admittedly awesome cane corso. I discovered this when I happened to notice his secretary's computer, where she was BCC'd on moving some meetings around. Next story. That the entire healthcare system has been hijacked by quality metrics that have everything to do with rationing care delivery and care resources, and almost nothing to do with actual quality of care. These are the carrot on a stick for all corporate entities and all of their management employees that aren't providers. The providers are still incentivized by volume of practice, and the entire reason we have a shortage of physicians and ancillary staff isn't because we don't have enough of them, but that they're systematically undersupported from working any more than half of what they're reasonably capable of doing. Your local hospital, care system, or clinically integrated network will get paid more for the less care they deliver, not the other way around. It's the opposite of capitalism. They still need to maintain their volume of business, but for established care systems, they are in every way incentivized to focus on cost savings rather than capital expenditure on efficiency and growth. Sure, it also reduces the need for expenditure marketing and competition-related efforts, but the shortage of providers is an illusion created by intentional efforts to suppress and restrict care delivery. How does it ever end up being more profitable to work less? This is way too deep. I don't get this at all. It's probably not that deep. I just genuinely don't quite understand. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. When healthcare becomes about money, things get screwed up, man. Next story. I work for a major car rental company that is now more than $15 billion in debt. Nobody will loan the money to replace its aging fleet, and there is no hope of making that money back. The state of Florida is currently suing them over toll charges practices. I have found this information by reading stock market analysis, and I know for a fact they're not cluing any of the local managers about it. The C-level churn rate for this company is amazing. I believe if we got O.J. Simpson to do some commercials for us again, it would boost our revenue. Next story. Old job 20 plus years ago. I was doing IT and literally inside the walls, there was an access space between two units. I found that I could get inside the CEO's office. Like if he were to punch the wall in the right spot, I would go, ugh. I could hear everything. I heard lots of juicy bits about the divorce proceedings, plans for department restructuring, etc. One time I heard about the plans to torpedo me, essentially get rid of most of my department, keeping me on just long enough to manage an outsourcing cutover, then let me go. I let it play out the rest of the week. Things pretty much went according to the plan I overheard, and not so much of a mention to me that I'd be laid off afterward. I had 2 weeks of vacation accrued at that time, so on Friday afternoon, I let my immediate supervisor know I was going on vacation. It wasn't so much a request as an announcement. I enjoyed the hell out of that 2 weeks. When I got back, management was furious. After all the yelling about how unprofessional it was, etc., I said, okay, just let that serve as my 2 weeks' notice. And I walked. Next story. 29 years at different computer companies. Seen it all. I was given an old PC that hadn't been cleared. Salary spreadsheet, reprimand letters, legal documents responding to former employees who were suing the company. VP harassed a customer and got away with it. 2 married engineers were having an affair. Her husband tried to end them both and then took his own life. Bosses moved major expenses from Q2 to Q1 so they didn't have to pay profitability bonuses to employees. Engineer downloaded, decompiled, and added part of a commercial product to our product source code. We deleted it and him. He was fired. One of the support managers hides on the roof to avoid his employees/boss. HR knows who's looking for a new job. I think they scan the job boards for resumes and watch people's LinkedIn accounts. Have received warnings from them before. At a very large company, one of the buildings had a hookup hallway in the basement. Employees on the night shift, hardware manufacturing, would fool around down there. VP's wife left us short several $1 million due to an accounting mistake. She wasn't fired. Sales executive stole $1 million USD, was fired but not charged. They got some of the money back, but he had gambled a lot of it away. One employee was living in an abandoned server room across the hall from our offices. Everyone thought he was working late. He went to the gym and showered there. It's kind of sad that an employee who is actively working has to just live in the office. Clearly, this is indicative of something wrong with the pay structure or whatever. Or they could have been extremely fiscally irresponsible. It's possible, but I'll just take it as social commentary for now. Next story. I work in a 4-story building. The top floor was vacated by some company a few years ago, but all the offices and bathrooms are still there. I happen to have the key to the floor door into the office and the emergency stairs. I go up there to go to the bathroom. Whoever was the head honcho there had a really nice bathroom. I set up shop there. My own teepee, magazines, soap, cleaning supplies, etc. for my own use. No one ever comes up there, and I've been using this bathroom for well over 3 years now. Next story. At Amazon, we have this program called Flex for independent contractors doing last mile deliveries. Part of that is the Prime Now 2-hour delivery. The base pay was initially set at $18 an hour because that's roughly what it was determined it would cost to operate a truck and pay minimum wage. After it launched, it was apparently discovered that customers tip quite well on average, so now drivers are getting massively stiffed on tips, often resulting in us not paying anything at all for the driver, using customer tips to cover their entire base wage. So, when on your order it says 100% of the tips go to the driver, that's technically true, but we just calculate the portion we pay based on that and pay them less base wage as a result. So this is literally just stealing tips. I don't care which way you slice it. It is. Awful, disgusting corporate behavior. Hate it. Especially now that so many places are asking for tips. If it's just getting sent straight to the company, why would anyone tip? I don't care. You provided your service, you did the job. You get that amount of money. The driver or whoever served me or whatever, they're the ones who should get the tip every time. I, as a consumer, do not exist to help you pay your workers. Next story. I worked for a private university that was notorious for being stingy with pay. Management refunded raises and froze cost of living increases for several years in a row in a very expensive city because they said no one was able to get paid anymore. Since it was registered not for profit, the tax returns are public. So I filled out a very simple form to the IRS, waited a couple of weeks, and I then had every executive's salary, including raises, for the past couple of years. I emailed this out to all the administrative assistants, the guaranteed way to get the information out, in the school, before I quit. Next story. A select few people from my old work saw a video of the store manager and a checkout chick 20 years his junior banging in the cash office, i.e. the room with the most security cameras. It was pretty gross because he was married with a newborn baby. His wife would come in with the kid and we would just look down because we knew what was happening, but no one ever told her. Eventually, she found out and divorced him. Not sure how she found out, but he ended up dating the checkout chick for a year or so. Next story. I was an assistant manager at a store. The alarm systems at my store were not up to par and kept getting false readings. Several of the entry points didn't function properly, which led to me getting calls all hours of the night, almost every night for a couple of years. Turns out someone had to approve the cost, which was well in the thousands, and the location was not doing well on its bottom line because of some essential repairs. The store manager threatened the management team and told us we'd be fired if we signed off on getting the work done. I stepped down to finish up my last semester of my degree, and I was picked up as a district-level manager quickly. Before I left, I checked to see if I was still in the approval chain. I was. So I ordered the fixes. About $16,000. Felt amazing. Next story. I used to work in a bar/restaurant in England. Owner had a planet-sized drug problem, which might be why the place's operating manager was the owner's former drug dealer. Several managers had serious addiction problems, and the place sometimes seemed more like a drug front that served drinks and food. 2 of them were eventually sent to rehab. Also, the place has hidden booths, speakeasy vibe, perfect for more intimate parties. People used to do all sorts of drugs there. Banging was less common, but not unheard of. Staff parties were lit. Next story. The husband in the husband and wife ownership was bringing his swinging partners into the edit suite and having late-night BDSM bang fests in a room right next to his wife's office. He was banging a slightly heavier and uglier version of his wife, all while a contract editor of ours was helping him edit BDSM adult content videos on company property. Goes without saying the company went under a year later, but I can still see the office windows of the leather screw lab and feel bad for the current tenants. Next story. I know the code which takes you down to the murder basement. No one else knows it, but I watched the janitor put it in once and remembered it. The murder basement is terrifying. It's a winding staircase down into a series of concrete rooms with nothing in them. There's even one small concrete room with an old dusty sink and nothing else at all in it. It has a big stain on the wall that looks like the wall is sweating blood. I swear some dark crap has happened in that basement. Next story. My first 2 years working at my job, small company, 20 to 25 people, there supposedly wasn't enough money for raises. I later found out all the managers got raises even though they specifically told us that no one got raises. After the second year of no raises, I did get a small bonus, but they fed me some bullcrap about, "You're the only one who got a bonus, so don't tell anyone." There were at least 5 other people who deserved bonuses over me that year, so I asked around and eventually found out from the lady who managed payroll, who I was good friends with at the time, that everyone got them. It was at this time that she told me about the raises the managers received as well. Next story. Throwaway because I could get in deep crap. I've been with this guy since he started an online company. He had $16,000 in his bank account. I was the first employee and I started with very little in salary that he had trouble paying in the beginning, and I understood that things are difficult as a startup, so I never complained if salary wasn't there. 10 years later, my salary is about $250K. I knew he was making bank but didn't know how much. I thought I was doing fine. Eventually, he stopped coming to work and I was asked to handle things. Then I found out the company did $300 million in profit last year. 5 years ago, it had crossed 100 million. The cost for staff salaries per year is less than $1 million. We don't get crazy benefits. He has mansions all over the world. He didn't marry, but he has women on retainers in multiple cities, travels by private jets. There's a yacht, but I don't think he's been out to sea. Last month, we paid about £20,000 for VIP check-in at Heathrow Airport. He spent the first 4 months of 2018 in France, and the hotel bill was $1.5 million. He has come to the office 2 days this year, but we transferred his dividends of over $212 million for the year. I'm still waiting for my bonus from last year. Some nights I can't sleep, especially when we get his Amex bill and have to clear it from the company. I'm gonna beat you guys to it. It's Amex, isn't it? Not Amex. American Express. I'm Canadian. Take it easy on me. Anyway, the CEO to staff wage discrepancy, I don't know. Maybe I can't know because I don't work like a normal corporate job with a suit and tie and briefcase or whatever. But it just doesn't make sense, man. How is this one person so important they're making like 50 times what everyone else makes? Is there a reason, or is it all just garbage? Be honest with me, guys. Next story. I work in education and am newly graduated. The position I was offered never existed and the unforeseen changes never occurred. The school I applied for has grade levels from pre-K to 12. A week before I graduate, they tell me I won't be in the high school, I'll be in the middle school. Not great, since I've looked at literally no other schools due to being assured of my position over a year prior. Even going so far as to sign the contracts, but hey, no worries. It's a great opportunity and my degree and experience covers both levels. Upon arrival, I'm thrown in with 12th graders. Going from 12th grade AP Government and Politics to telling kids to get a new pair of uncrapped pants from the nurse is one thing, but finding out that these guys knew about the position change for months prior to telling me is underhanded at best. They wanted to wait as long as possible before telling me so that I wouldn't have time to look elsewhere, ensuring they had a body in the room. Found out from another teacher that he knew I'd be working in 5th grade months before I was told, which leads me to believe the administration knew for ages. My last day is today. Next story. So I recently got a job at a Japanese restaurant, and nearly everyone who works there is Chinese. I didn't think this was too weird, but upon talking to everyone, they all told me they were from different parts of China. I couldn't help but wonder how they were all brought together to be working at the same place all the way here in the States, so I started digging around. Apparently the restaurant is probably owned by the Chinese mafia as a legal business, and they recruit Chinese people all throughout the country by promising them papers and a place to stay in the US with the chance of becoming a citizen. These things are, however, false, and the reality is that people who agree are flown out here to essentially become slaves, working 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, because they're now indebted to the owners. No family or friends or money to get out. They're paid by the lie that they're in debt to the owners and given a small apartment to stay in. I've heard that up to 10 of them are living in there with only 2 bedrooms. Eventually, the lie will come out that the owners have no actual way of giving any of them papers or helping them become citizens. The place has been open less than a year. I have no idea what's going to happen moving forward. I believe this is human trafficking. Next story. The company I work for is about to get a whole new lumber mill across the street from the current one. Most of the employees will be moving over once it's completed. My best friend of 10 years recently became a supervisor and told me that out of my whole department, 15-ish, 2 others and me are the only ones they're going to keep. Everyone else will be laid off. Next story. At my job, my assistant manager Joel had a goal to sleep with all of the cashiers, including any and all new hires, even minors. He had worked there for 7 years and mostly succeeded. I worked there for a year. In the time I did, one of our cashiers was in an abusive relationship that she refused to leave. When she became pregnant, we noticed Joel spending more time with her. The day she miscarried, Joel threw a kegger at his house. Turns out the kid was most likely his, and he was happy as hell that she miscarried it. She eventually told her boyfriend, and he randomly started popping up to the workplace looking for him. But once he started calling with the death threats to the manager, the girl was fired, and both of them were given legal orders not to come to the store anymore. Another cashier, Suzanne, was married to a Marine on deployment. Joel struck up an affair with her and truly fell in love. But when her husband came home, he had a surprise for her too. He had met another woman online and was moving out of state to be with her. Suzanne couldn't handle it and moved to be with him, breaking Joel's heart. He was really torn up about it for a while. and we had a 16-year-old cashier, Tiffany. Joel tried everything in his power to be with her, and she was flirting back, with not only him but other employees. Her boyfriend found some texts between her and some coworkers and rolled up to the job, fists flying, cussing out every dude in the place, knocking Joel on his butt. He also broke up with Tiffany. Joel thought, "This is my chance," and upped the ante. He started taking her out on totally not dates and sneaking her into bars, getting her blackout drunk, and trying to convince her to spend the night at his house. Luckily, her parents had her on a fairly tight leash. Finally, one day, after all the predatory grooming crap didn't work, he asked her out. She said no, told him she wasn't interested at all, and he quit the job the next day. Wow, Joel sounds like a piece of human garbage. I can't imagine the level of sleaze you have to even have that as a goal. I don't like that OP didn't say how old Joel was. I want this man shamed, because I guarantee you, he was probably not as young as you're hoping. It is amazing this dude didn't get in more trouble somehow. Sounds like he took pride in being a homewrecker piece of garbage. Anyway, that's the last story for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one.